In a quiet town called Wapakoneta, Ohio, a baby named Neil was born in the summer of 1930. His parents, Stephen and Viola Armstrong, were loving and kind. Neil's father worked for the state government and often had to travel, but home was always filled with books, warmth, and dreams. Even as a baby, Neil seemed to gaze at the world with big, curious eyes, especially at the toy airplane that hung above his crib. It was almost like he already knew that one day he would fly. When Neil was just 6 years old, something incredible happened. His father took him on his first airplane ride at the Cleveland Air Races. They soared high above the ground, and Neil looked down at the tiny houses and toy-like cars. From that moment, he was hooked. "I want to do that again," he whispered. He didn't just enjoy the ride, he loved it. He didn't just want to fly in a plane. He wanted to be the one flying it. Back home, Neil's fascination only grew. He built model airplanes from kits, read every book he could find about flight and engineering, and even tried to fix broken radios just to understand how things worked. His room was a little workshop, filled with balsa wood wings, glue, screws, and diagrams. His parents watched him, amazed. "He's always building something," his mom smiled. Neil didn't mind if he failed. He knew every mistake was a step closer to learning. Flying lessons weren't cheap, so when Neil turned 11, he took on a paper route. Every morning before school, Neil would wake up early, rain, snow, or sunshine, and deliver newspapers on his bike. He saved every penny, and not for toys or candy. No, Neil was saving for flight school. He wasn't just a dreamer, he was a worker, and every mile he pedaled was one step closer to the sky. By the age of 15, Neil had done it. He had saved enough for flying lessons. Every Saturday, while other kids played baseball or went to the movies, Neil headed to the airfield. He trained in a small plane called the Aeronca Champion. The smell of the engine, the feel of the controls, the sound of the wind, it was everything he'd ever dreamed of. He earned his student pilot's license before he could even legally drive a car. At night, Neil would climb onto the roof of his house and gaze up at the sky. The stars glittered like tiny lanterns, and the moon hung silently above. Neil didn't just look, he wondered. What was it like up there? Was it silent? Cold? Could someone go there? He brought a notebook and wrote down questions, ideas, and little doodles of rockets. Even though the world was still far from space travel, Neil's imagination had already launched. Neil's path was clear. He studied engineering in college, joined the Navy, and became a brilliant test pilot. He flew faster than the speed of sound and helped test experimental jets. By the time he was chosen as an astronaut, Neil had spent more time in the sky than on the ground. All those mornings delivering papers, all those hours building models and flying lessons, they had prepared him. He was no longer just a boy who dreamed of the moon. He was ready to go there. Years later, Neil Armstrong became the first human to set foot on the moon. But that giant leap didn't come from nowhere. It started with small steps. A curious child, a newspaper route, a love of flying. Neil's story reminds us that every dream starts small, but with courage and effort, it can take you all the way to the stars. Thanks for watching Young Biographies. Don't forget to like and subscribe.